Hello, everybody. It's your girl, Miracle Sims, and you're watching God, Sex, and Love. And friends, I don't know if you know or not, but we are here to talk about God, sex, love, and everything in between. Because y'all know that we don't be talking about that, right? We as Christians. How many times y'all been talking about all these things one time? Y'all, I'll wait. So that's what we're trying to do here, friends. We're trying to open up the lines of communication and just create a safe space to just chit chat about all things. So, friends, I have a wonderful couple joining me for conversation right now. I call them the Englishes. They do a lot of amazing things in the community. They have a nonprofit organization where they feed the homeless. It's called People Feeding People. They have a marriage group that they, pretty much sow into daily called The Marriage Bed Undefiled. They just do so many great, awesome things, and they're going to have a conversation with me right now. And you know what, friends, like I said, we open and honest around here, okay? So the conversation, we just going to go ahead and dive in. So I hope you guys are ready for it. We're going to talk about the importance of sex in marriage. So if you are ready to dive in with us and have this conversation, then stay tuned, and we'll get straight into it right after this. Hello, everyone. Again, as you guys can see, I have a dear friend of mine. Well, I guess both of y'all are dear friends of mine, but there's one of y'all that I know practically my whole life. I got the Englishes on the line, and they're going to join me for this conversation, this spicy conversation about the importance of sex in marriage. So, first I have here Miss Chunda English. Can you say hello to the people?
Hello.
And her wonderful husband, Mr. Roderick English.
Hey.
So, you guys, let's get it going. The importance of sex in marriage. So, first of all, how long have you all been married?
11 years.
Almost 12.
11, almost 12 years.
Yes.
So, listen, all of us that's under that need to be taking notes. I know I do. I'm just technically getting started in the married game. About year 3, 4, something like that. What y'all got to say about 11 years of marriage? Like, let me just...
Honestly, on my end, it's a lot of compromise, a lot of sacrifice, and a lot of patience. Because in marriage, it's not about you. It's about blending with another person, and it's a learning experience. So it's like 11 years, I'm still learning her, she's still learning me, and I'm cool with her changes, and as long as she stays cool with my changes, and we should be fine.
Yes. 11 years. Well, I've known him for 15. So we've been friends for 15 years. And being married for 11 years, it's had its challenges. I always tell newlyweds the first 3-4 years gonna be the hardest. Because you're trying to adjust, you got to come together. It's a lot of compromise, a lot of give and take, but definitely a lot of communication. You got to be able to talk to that person. That's why it's important to establish a friendship. Like, he's literally like my best friend. I can call and talk to Rod about anything. And what we did too, we created in our marriage something called brutal honesty. So you might not like it, but we're going to tell it like it is, and then we'll talk about it, make up and pray later. But you got to be honest with each other.
Honestly, brutal honesty will save your marriage, because there's a lot of things you have on your heart. There's a lot of things, your spouse going to have on their heart, and it's like you hold them back. And if you just get it out, speak it, you'd be surprised that you're probably saying the same thing. And you don't want to say it. So being open and honest, it saves you from a lot of headaches and heartache.
I agree. Look, just the platform. So, friends, this conversation of the importance of sex in marriage. On one hand, I know for me, I guess
I always aspired to be at this point in my life because I was always taught that sex was for marriage, you know? And so, but then we get to this space where it may just not be you or it may just not be me, but it's like the narrative is that there is an issue when it comes to married people having sex.
Yeah.
You know, and to me that's kind of confusing because I'm like, well, this was supposed to be the time when you're supposed to be having sex, you know? So why is there this issue here? Now the more I grew, the more I'm like, okay, I'm thinking that it's all spiritual, like a spiritual attack on marriages is the reason why there is problems with sex in marriage. But I mean, I guess I just wonder, even if we don't go that deep with it, if we just think about like on the surface level, like why do we think that there are issues, or are there issues with sex in marriage? Now that you all are on the married side, are you all seeing some type of issues with sex?
Definitely. I'll say early in our marriage, we definitely had problems with sex in marriage, and more so I'll say on me rather than him. But he has a super high sex drive. Just being transparent, he does. And so with me, I was kind of like, I wasn't giving as much as I should, probably, because I would have my little mood swings, just hormonal changes, just tired, things like that, and not really thinking of sex as a form of communication or a love language.
Also, I think people, when they get married, and especially women, a lot of people settle, and they're happy. They're like, you know, I got a good guy, I'm married, he ain't going nowhere. So it's like you do everything to get them, and then people just kind of chill. But it's not necessarily women. It's guys like that too. I have some friends that's like, the spouse is like me, high drive, and then, you know, the husband's like, man, I love you. And I mean, it's like, you know, you got to balance that out. But a lot of times people settle, the sex kind of gets pushed to the side. And, you know, that can be a big problem.
And I think, honestly, some things need to be taken care of in dating. Like, you have to have, I think with me and Rod, we talked about everything while we were dating. Like, what's our parents' expectations? What's your ideal of what a wife is supposed to do? What's my ideal of what a husband's supposed to do? And a lot of times, I think people don't talk about sex, they just do it. So even though we're supposed to save it for marriage, you know, I hate to say it, most people in today's society, they're having sex before marriage.
They're going to test their car out.
And so they don't talk about expectations for sex, because while you're dating, it's like, you know, I see you, we have sex, you know, everything seems good. But when you're living with this person 24/7, it's totally different. And that's something that you have to talk about before marriage. You really have to set those expectations of what you expect in the bedroom. What does he expect? What does she expect? What do you like? What do I like? And even if you're two virgins coming together like you're supposed to be before marriage, you still need to talk about what you expect, because that's going to be an issue. The two top reasons why people get divorced in America, especially in Christians: sex and finances. So if you can't talk about sex and finances in a marriage, it's going to be some problems.
Woo. Well, so obviously you all feel like sex is important in marriage.
Yeah, it's the glue that holds it together. It literally is a form of communication. We talk about how important communication is. It's that glue that's going to help hold it together. And even if, since we on God, sex, and love, you know, I had to pull some scriptures.
Go ahead.
Even in 1 Corinthians, if we look at 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 3-5, it says, husbands should fulfill the wife's needs, and wives should fulfill the husband's need, as in sexually, need. And when I read that thing, I was like, dang, that's a need. My husband had been telling me it was a need, but I was like in my own feelings, like I wasn't listening. And then if we keep going further, it says you're supposed to have authority over each other's body. So I'm not supposed to go, oh, this is my body, you can't touch me, or vice versa. It says you have authority over each other's body. So this his body, this my body. We're supposed to be joined together as one flesh. It says it repeatedly throughout scriptures. When a husband and a wife get married, you become one. So it's not a separate body. We're together. And then this part right here, verse 5, do not deprive each other of sexual relations unless you're fasting, but come together so Satan cannot tempt you. So like when you're not having sex with your spouse, it's going to lead to other spirits, as you said before, coming in.
But it's funny she says this stuff because she's speaking my language now.
Yes, I am now.
Because it's like for so long, like everybody talks about verbal communication is, the key to keeping a good marriage. I'm like, people talk all the time, but when you're married, the sexual bond is what really brings you together. Because my thing is, the more sex you have, you're not arguing, you're not fussing. Y'all actually come together. You discuss things. The house is at peace. You're not. If you have kids, you're united against the kids. You're united against your family members. Y'all together. But when y'all not having sex, when you're not vibing with each other, everything in the world starts to seep in. And then one person's gonna want more, and the other person's gonna want nothing. And then it's just like everything falls apart. So I honestly believe that's why God made sex. Because sex is what bonds you together. I mean, it's the purpose. To be together.
That's literally the way to become one, because you're joined together.
Friends. Like, I hope that blessed you right there. Just that by itself. That's a lot. I mean, I don't know what the problem is. Why for it gotta be a problem, doggone it? Like, I think I'm probably the one that's the most sexual minded in my marriage. So it can be on the other end too. I think that was the interesting thing that I learned when I became married, is that, the narrative is that men want it. Like, that's what you hear. But I mean, when I'm in the relationship and I feel like I want it, not to say my man don't want it, but like his mind is on all of the other things. It's like, well, dang, like, what's going on?
Okay, so question for you lovebirds. I want to, get in y'all business a bit. Is there anything that happened in your marriage that just solidifies the point that sex is important?
For me, it was the moment when my spouse was like, he thought about having an affair. Like, not that he did it, but he thought about it because he wasn't getting what he needed. And like I said, I could have took that one or two ways. I could have took it like, oh my God, like, what do you mean, blah, 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 and just like kicking, screaming, throwing stuff. But instead, I took it as a moment of like, let me self-reflect, because I know the person that he is, and he's not that type of person. And it was just like one of those moments where I had to really like self-reflect, because this is something that he's been asking about, begging for, talking to me about for years. Like, it wasn't something that I came to the realization overnight that this is an intense need for him. But it was like, okay, Chunda, what's the problem? What's the issue? And it was really like that moment where I was like, okay, let me think about this. Like, do I want to, lose my marriage over something that I'm supposed to be doing? Because I knew in reality, okay, I should be having sex with my husband. I just don't feel like it because of whatever selfish reasons I had in my mind. I just didn't feel like it. And so I took that as like, okay, he's, bold enough to come to me and say like, dang, it's like women throwing themselves at me and trying to, give me what you're not giving me, but I'm resisting that. And it's more or less like, why aren't you giving it to me? And so that was like a real wake-up moment for me, personally. And I just took that moment of self-reflection instead of, because I honestly believe, and this is just my personal view, I know a lot of people are going to be like, it's controversial. I think when people have affairs, it's because of two people have failed in the marriage. Now, you do have men or women who cheat on their spouse just to cheat on their spouse because they're just crappy people.
There's no time to get my nails done. Oh, I know. I went to unwindselfcare.com and got my 100% nail polish strips. Thanks, Unwind Self-Care.
Men or women who cheat on their spouse just to cheat on their spouse because they're just crappy people. But most of the time, an affair doesn't just happen from one incident. It's a buildup of several things that have not been talked about over time, or things that you never dealt with over time. And so for us, the issue, we had great communication, all this stuff on the surface, but underneath all of that, the sex was lacking. And even I would admit, like, you know, it wasn't what it probably could or should be. And so that's why I was like, okay, I don't want my marriage to be like my parents' marriage and end in failure because I'm not willing to really truly listen to my spouse.
A lot of it is, no matter how good a person is, you can't take no for so much. And most infidelities in marriage, and it comes from that angle. It's like you have one spouse that, and the thing is, like on my end, it wasn't like I wasn't doing the husbandly things. Like I was cooking, I was cleaning, I made sure my kids were bathed, I made sure, you know, they did their homework. I was running around coaching, I'm still going to the gym, you know, still providing her time. So it's like at the end of the day, it was like, what am I doing wrong? If I'm taking a list of everything a man should do to get the reward for being a good husband, it's like, I'm doing everything, but you're not getting the reward. So it's like, I'm trying to figure out at the time, like, what am I doing wrong? Is it me? Do I look a certain kind of way? Like, you know, do I smell funny? Like, you know, like these are things I'm looking at because I'm like, I take care of myself. I take care of my family. I go to work every day. So it's like, you know, I couldn't figure the thing out. And so I just started praying. I said, Lord, what am I doing wrong? And I never got an answer. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And then I get an answer. And it was like, one day he was like, you're not doing nothing. It's not all you. And it's like, even in that period of time, it's like, you know, you sitting there and I'm waiting for a response and waiting for a response. And it's like, you know, there's no excuse for it, but you get to a point, it's like a tiger in a cage. When you put that tiger in the corner, he's got to come out the corner somehow, some way. And it's like, I don't feel that, you know, people should hold that from themselves because you open a door that you don't want to open. And I mean, you know, luckily me and my wife got to the point where we could talk and it really, you know, it exposed a lot of things and it allowed her to open up to me, you know, some of her fears and so on and so forth. And also some of mine.
Yo, wow. That's good right there. And like, honestly, you guys said, you know, 11 years marriage, almost 12. And for you all to be where you are now is a blessing because, again, you know, I know a lot of people don't necessarily make it there. A lot of people just kind of give up or be like, you know, well, you're not giving me what I want, so I'm going to go elsewhere, like you guys said. And so who knows, perhaps, and I mean, perhaps you all went through that for this moment right here to show other people how important this is. You know, because like I said, I mean, even in my marriage, I feel like I'm that person that's always wanting whatever I want when I want, you know, and maybe me and my husband aren't like fully on the same page with that, or maybe we don't fully understand each other in that aspect. And it's confusing. You know, I can agree. I guess I would relate a lot to Roderick in this because it's like, I often wonder, like, oh, you know, is it me? Like, is there anything I can do? Like, is there something I don't understand? Like, and just really, really try to show that I literally, like, I think the thing that I'm afraid of, like, I don't think I would do anything, you know. I would hope and pray that I wouldn't do anything to you know, mess up the marriage or anything like that, or, you know, or take any type of temptation and stuff. But at the same time, I guess my thing has been like, but don't like keep putting me in the situation to have to doubt or fear or wonder, you know. So I guess to be on the other end, and like I can definitely relate. And so, you know, I hope that you all are encouraging people that this whole thing is very important. I'm on team more married sex. I'm gonna make it a hashtag. I'm gonna make shirts.
I think, you know, through the whole process on my end is, what do you really want? And then, like, one of the things that I kept thinking about, you know, when I was going through it, it's like, why did I marry this woman? You know, what things did I see in her? What is her value to me? And it's like, you know, what things, you know, are God allowing us to build? You know, where are we going? So, like, thinking about those things, like, I talk a lot of times when we do talk to other couples, I talk about building a wall, you know, like a spiritual, mental marriage wall. And on that wall, it's like, you know, you have all your memories, you know, when you first met each other, you know, when you had your first kid, you know, your first trip, all the things, you know, that are special. So it's like, when you're going through hard times, especially when I was going through hard times when, you know, she wasn't giving me what I wanted, I can reflect on those things. It's like, okay, these are the reasons why I'm going to stay faithful. These are the reasons why, I'm not going outside of my house. These are the reasons why I'm going to wait on my wife. And I mean, and it's not easy. And I mean, I stare at that wall a lot of times, but the thing is, it's worth it. And I mean, my message, I guess, to people that have been married, especially they're starting out fresh and things are not going the way you want them, you got to endure it. Because the first, like my wife said earlier, the first 3 to 5 years of marriage, that's the puzzle right there. You're still trying to put things in place. You're still trying to figure each other out. And even though you can talk about your love language, your sex language, it's completely different. And then you don't really know it until you're face to face, the door is shut, your moms and dads and everybody's away, and you got to really figure this out as, adults. And then once you figure it out, and it takes time, everything sort of smooths out. It's a time thing.
I think for me, like, one thing I'll say that I did is, like, all of this, I would often pray, like, not really for him, but for me. Like, Lord, let me be the spouse that he needs. Because I think a lot of times in prayer, we can be still selfish, like, Lord, change him. And I was like, Lord, change me. Like, that's a real, I always say insightful prayer. Like, instead of asking God to change the other person, change me. Let me be more of what he or she needs. And I think it's a selfless prayer, because you want to be what your spouse needs and what your spouse wants. And, or, pray, Lord, let me have more insight into what my spouse is feeling. Because for Rod, it was like, not just me, like, I would be like, okay, I want to have sex tonight because I'm tired. But in his mind, his love language is not me saying I'm tired that he's hearing, it's him feeling rejected. And when, like, that thing really hit me, and I was like, it's not that I'm rejecting you, I love you, I don't want you to feel like this. But he felt like I was almost like abandoning him or neglecting him, which of course goes against a biblical marriage, period. You're not supposed to be depriving each other. And so to not have that connection is a form of neglect. It's a form of abuse. And you can't expect a kick dog to not fight back eventually. And so that's why I said for me, when that conversation came up, it was like, okay, I can take this one of two ways. I can lash out and it lead to more issues and probably, go ahead and destroy what's already fragile. Or I can really take a second and really hear this time what he's saying. Because it's not like he hasn't said it before. I just was like, oh boy, you'll be all right. And that time it was like, oh, okay, I'm happy that you're talking to me about it and that you didn't act on it. Because so often in marriage, instead of the person having I always say, which one do you want? The beautiful lie or the ugly truth? Because a lot of marriages are built on beautiful lies. Like, instead of me telling my spouse I'm thinking about having an affair, I'm just going to go do it and not tell them. Well, that's going to still lead to an ugly truth later on, but now the damage is really past, reconciliation in a lot of cases. But in this case, okay, you told me what you were feeling and I really hear you, because it could lead to something more and I would have to take some ownership in it. And that's why I said, for me personally, I always believe an affair is just two people that have totally miscommunicated in a lot of cases.
Well, friends, I know we can keep going on this topic for a while. But, if there's any other thing that you feel like, we may have left out of the conversation that definitely needs to be said about the importance of sex in marriage, what would that be?
Because your love has set me free. I'm alive. Believe in me.
It's time for a special treat. We're going to actually just go on in the kitchen and have bites with Bro Bro.
Hey y'all, it's time for Bites with Bro Bros. I'm here with Chef Derek of Bro Bros Catering, and he's here to show us a quick quarantine breakfast.
What do you have for us today, Chef?
Well, Miss Miracle, for you and all your lovely fans out there, I wanted to put together a quick and simple quarantine breakfast, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, I like to treat myself. So I like something hearty in the morning to fill me up, get me going, right? Mm-hmm. So what I did was a steak and eggs breakfast for you guys. You smell that garlic on there and that butter? Oh, that butter was just sizzling and dripping when it was being cooked. I mean, it's super quick and simple, approximately 12 minutes, and I mean prep to cook everything.
Okay, well that sounds good. Let me see. So we're gonna have a little taste.
Yeah, let's have a taste. Now, what you can use to accent it, you can use the butter and garlic that you cook it in, and next time on next episode, I can maybe show you guys that a little bit more, but you can do a cheap and easy, quick way out, and that would be A1.
All right, okay.
Future sponsor.
Yes, look, we believe and receive that.
So if you want, you can try it with the steak sauce. You can do it with or without. You know, everybody has their preference. Preferably, you know, mine is no steak sauce. You don't need it when you have the butter and the garlic, those herbs in there, and the eggs just light and fluffy. But yeah, let's give it a try.
Okay. It's a little bit. Let's see.
Real eggy. They must be cage-free eggs. Those had to be some happy chickens.
You know what? Those eggs though, those is nice and fluffy and stuff like that. So look, so I guess I was supposed to share this, huh? I was supposed to share this with you because I don't know.
Well, it was just a small portion because, you know, it was just a quick quarantine breakfast. So, you know, just something to get you going for that morning, the afternoon, carry you over till dinner time. So I wouldn't be surprised if she took it off and ran away with it.
Well, friends, if you guys want to learn more about Chef Derek or Bro Bros Catering, you want to go ahead and tell them some social media.
Yeah, feel free to follow us on Facebook, Bro Bros Catering. You can also catch us online or on Instagram at Bro Bros Catering, brobroscatering.com. So check us out, support us. We love the support. I appreciate it. And more than anything, we love Miracle for the opportunities that she's provided to other black men and women out here in the industry. And I mean, she's just an all about wonderful person. So shout out and keep supporting everybody. And I think that was her son right there trying to second that.
You know what, backstage, baby. Well, friends, thank you guys for tuning in to Breaks with Bro Bro. I'm gonna go ahead and enjoy this quarantine breakfast. Y'all have a good old day.
I just want to give a special thank you to the Englishes. Thank you so much for joining me in this conversation, talking about this very important topic of the importance of sex in marriage. So thank you all for also being the very first couple to interview here on God, Sex, and Love, the TV show. So friends, I want to just give a shout out to Chef Derek with Bro Bros Catering. Thank you so much for showing us that yummy recipe to give us a quick quarantine breakfast idea. Friends, I hope that you all enjoyed this episode of God, Sex, and Love. Stay in touch with us on social media. You can find us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all under God, Sex, and Love. And you can also visit godsexandlove.com.